Hi, this is Asa. I hope everyone's having a dandy December. And I just wanted to let you know about a play that I saw last weekend over at Encore Theatre Company. It's a script entitled Comfort and Joy. It's playing weekends now through December the 15th. Encore Theater, of course, is a nonprofit theater serving the Middle Tennessee area. It's located in Wilson County. And I'll give you their contact information at the end of this message so you will have a chance to go out and see Comfort and Joy for yourself. I highly encourage you to support this really innovative, wonderful, creative group of people over in Mount Juliet. Comfort and Joy is a script by, I have to look up the author's name, it slipped my mind, by Jack Heifner. And it's directed by a friend of mine, Michael Rex. I call him Mick. And also produced by a friend of mine, L.M. Lesueur, who I have known for years. She's a talented stand-up comedian and theater person herself. I'm very happy that she has put her hat into the producer ring. She did a swell job with this. Now, Comfort and Joy is a cast of 6 actors. And the story is set in the early 90s. Now, when I first read this script, I have to confess, I did get a sneak preview of this script. I read it about 3 or 4 months ago when I found out that Encore would be producing it, and sent off for a copy from Dramatic Publishing. I'm just always interested in what theater companies are doing and what they're going to be doing. When I read it, my first reaction was, there's something there. There was something there that grabbed me about the story, very unique story, but at the same time I did feel like some of the references were dated. It's a story set in the Hollywood Hills in the early 90s, and one of the characters happens to be a movie producer. So a number of the references, it's kind of peppered with references throughout, such as, oh, well, Demi Moore sent me a Christmas present, or Kevin Costner gave me a phone call, or, things like that. So you can kind of tell it's very much set in a certain era. However, once I saw what these actors did with the story and how they brought it to life, really did not bother me that it was set in a certain period of time that's not of today. And in fact, I think it would have been difficult to update this script when I tell you about the concept and some of the characters. Now, the centerpiece of the story is Scott Dobson, played by a wonderful young actor named James Belor, and his partner, Tony Pirelli, played by Jerry England III. Now, this is a gay couple. They live together and are, for all intents and purposes, married, or as legal as they could be married back in the early 90s in California. So, now I would not call this a fancy Hollywood home. It was the decor was more, I would say bohemian, a little bit eclectic, but very, very colorful and interesting. My favorite prop piece, was a statue of David that sat on the coffee table. I thought that was a very clever touch by Michael Rex. It's very Michael. I saw Michael's fingerprint on that, but that happens to be a very stunning piece of art, and very appropriate, I think, for these characters. In fact, when I lived in California, there was kind of an infamous home over there when I lived in Hollywood, and the entire yard was decorated with statues of David. So I thought that was a very appropriate, very California thing to do in this script. So we have Scott and Tony who want to have a nice little happy Norman Rockwell Christmas. But of course, we have to have conflict in the story, so we know that's not going to happen. So the conflict comes in the form, among other things, in the form of Tony's mother, Doris, played stunningly by Barbara S. Hartman. Now, Barbara also goes by the nickname Bunny, but her professional name is Barbara S. Hartman. And I thought she played this mother-in-law. You could very much go with this as a Neil Simon type of pushy and mother-in-law, or Everybody Loves Raymond. It's very much in that mold. However, I thought Barbara gave this character an honesty, and, maybe some of it stems from Barbara's own life experiences. She gave this character a very touching side. We just saw that Doris really wanted to be a part of her son Scott's life. And I may have said Tony earlier, but Doris is actually Scott's mother, so forgive me if I made an error there. But we very much see that she wants to be a part of her son's life. She's recently widowed, and we kind of know that she has nowhere else to go at Christmas. She wants to come see her son. She's recently tried to renovate her life. She's renovated her face, gotten a facelift, and is just trying to figure out what to do with her life. But the conflict comes because Doris cannot really accept her son Scott's homosexuality. And the interesting part of this story is that Scott himself has trouble accepting his lot in life, the way he's wired, and in front of his mother, he has trouble showing Tony affection, and I think that's very realistic, very honest, even for 2013. I think in some circles there still is a stigma with that, especially if you've been brought up in a certain religious type of background, in certain cultures and societies. There still is some shame involved in some families with this topic. There's some hesitance to be who you are. And I think in that way the story was very honest, that Scott and Doris were still struggling to come to terms with each other as adults in an adult relationship and kind of reinvent their interaction. Then we have Tony's family also is around, and that creates more conflict. Tony's brother Victor is kind of just lounging around the house. Victor has been kicked out of his house because he cheated on his wife, so he has nowhere else to go for Christmas. He's just kind of hanging out, drinking a lot of liquor. There are liquor bottles strewn about the stage, perhaps a few too many liquor bottles, but they really took it to the highest level and had bottles everywhere. He was constantly drinking. And I thought Victor was portrayed in the most excellent way by a young actor named David Posey. I've seen David in other roles. He's normally played kind of a straight role when I've seen him act, but this was a great kind of departure for him. Playing this kind of slacker. I kind of compare him to the character, if you remember the show Empty Nest. He's kind of that next door neighbor on Empty Nest that won't go away. So I thought this was a fun role for David, and David has had his hair long and really fit the persona quite nicely. And the sister Gina, who comes for an extended visit. Well, Gina comes with her own surprises. She's been out of the country. She works, I believe, for National Geographic magazine and has been on a trip and has come back to America, and well, she doesn't have anywhere else to go either. And we find out her surprises in the story, and I'm not going to reveal everything. You have to come and see it for yourself. But Gina has a lot of sass and spunk, and it's not exactly a Jersey girl, but it kind of has that persona, being a little bit pushy, being a little bit, she's not going to let anybody push her around. And that was portrayed in a very fun way by Paige Moore. And last but not least, this is kind of a wink to It's a Wonderful Life. We have the character of the fairy, played in a tour de force performance by Karen Yates. And Karen is a lady I know. She was kind enough to give me a comp on opening night, so that's my little disclaimer. But I will say that Karen obviously had a ball doing this role. She got to, within the magical character of the fairy, she got to kind of control the other actors a little bit without their knowing it. She kind of was the puppet master, so to speak, and kind of forced each character at certain points in the story to confront certain parts of their past, to confront people from their past. And it would go off into these little scenarios, little blasts from the past, and then would come back into reality. And Karen was the one who controlled that. And I thought Karen's most touching scene was when she portrayed the character of a dying AIDS patient who was a male partner of one of the other characters. And I won't reveal the full scope of what that entailed. But I will say just the writing in that scene and just the fact that Karen was portraying an AIDS patient really about to die. I thought that was very touching, and I thought that was probably the most powerful scene in the whole story. And then Scott and Tony, portrayed again by James Beeler and Jerry England, I thought made a very nice couple. Both of them very believable, both likable, both nice looking, realistic couple. Both very different, they weren't alike in their looks, and I thought that made for a nice contrast. In particular, I thought Jerry England III made a very nice leading man type of presence on stage, and had the looks, played it very straight, very honestly. All the girls will go gaga because he had a shirtless scene. Maybe some of the guys will go gaga too. But I think Jerry has a very nice future on the stage, and I will look forward to seeing more of his work. And James, I saw from the program, has, some background, has some other experience on stage, and I thought portrayed kind of the harassed, harried son very nicely. And I thought in particular that James and Barbara made a very believable son and mother. So good job in casting, Michael, and good, really fine directing. For whatever you can pick at, maybe they should have had this on the set, or maybe they should have done that with the lighting. Whatever. Anything can always be broken apart like that and picked apart. But it all comes down to the acting, and I think Michael directed his actors very, very effectively, and I thought they put their hearts into it, and that was very nice work. And I think the theme and the overall impact of the story is to come to terms with your past, come to terms with yourself, accept people as they are now, and find your family where you can. And I think in that way, it was an untraditional Christmas story, but it was a very nice Christmas story. And in its own way, although it was written in the early 90s, I think still a very contemporary and timely Christmas story. Just to see all of these very different characters come together and make a Christmas, and just kind of accept each other for who they are, and have a peaceful moment. I thought that was very touching, extremely nice, and I think Comfort and Joy is a story worth going to see. So I'm going to give you the contact information for Encore Theatre Company. And I would look forward to hearing your thoughts about Comfort and Joy. If you want to leave me a message, or, I'm sure Encore would love to hear from you as well. But I always like discussing things. If you would like to leave me a comment on my Facebook page, or leave me a comment on the end of this video, you're welcome to do that. I would welcome your observations as well. And the Comfort and Joy is playing at 6978 Lebanon Road in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. The phone number for Encore Theater is 598-8950. And the website, get your pencils ready, this is a little complicated, www.encore-theater with an R-E company.org. That's www.encore-theater with an R-E company.org. And if you have any trouble, I'm sure you can just look it up on Google and you'll be able to find it. And congratulations to my good friend Michael Rex for his fine work on and off the stage. He's an accomplished playwright, actor, and now director. Love and peace to you at the holidays, and I'll see you at the theater.